What's up? As you can see, I'm a Giants fan, and our team is terrible. Um, there's not much to look forward to at the end of the season. If you wondering why my mouth is red, I had some fruit punch Gatorade. So yeah. Um. Anyways. Yeah, the Giants, we suck. We're not a good team. We are 2-10 currently. Tied for the worst team in the league with the Las Vegas Raiders right now. And yeah, not much to look forward to. This job class is not good. Quarterback wise, quarterback class isn't really good. Cam Warner, Shador Sanders, who we should get. And if we can't land those two for some reason, because if we fall out like top five or something, then we should go like a corner or something else. We can't be reaching for a quarterback. But yeah, best case scenario, we get Shador or Cam Ward. I kind of like Cam Ward more, but who cares? We're gonna watch how the New York Giants became a complete disaster. Cause there's a whole story behind this. The whole story behind this all on how we just became like arguably the worst team in the league. Like 2 years ago, we was in the playoffs. Now it's just not even the same team anymore. We lost Saquon, like we lost Xavier McKinney. We just we just don't know what to do, bro. We need to get a new coach. We need to get a new general manager. We need to get a new owner, bro. Like I, we need to like blow the entire team up. Like get a whole new team. Only keep like Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns and all the young players and all that. But other than that, we just need to like get a completely new team because this team is like hopeless. Like there's it's hopeless. Like there's no good qualities about this team outside of the defensive line, which hasn't been as good as the first half of the season. And yeah, I'm gonna stop yapping and just like watch this.
The New York Giants are 2-9 after a 30-7 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 12, and the loss to Tampa marked their sixth straight loss and 20th loss since the start of the 2023 season. This franchise has been through it over the past couple of years, and we are seemingly a million miles away from the team that went 9-7-1 during the 2022 regular season and the team that won a playoff game that year. A lot has changed in the last 2 years, and since their 38-7 playoff loss to the Eagles, this team is just 8-20 with countless bad moments, including a 40-0 loss to the Cowboys in Week 1 of the
Oh
2023 season,
no!
a 24.
This game was infamous, bro, because the O line played so awful this game. The Daniel Jones played terrible, like horrible. And we had a good first drive on the Cowboys. I'm like, okay, we driving the Cowboys now. It's gonna be a good game. And then it just fell apart after they blocked the field goal and returned it for a touchdown. And I'm like, oh Lord, we are absolutely cooked. And yep, that's what happened.
4-3 loss to the Seahawks, in which head coach Brian Dable erupted on the sidelines in what was the Devin Witherspoon breakout game. Their former
Oh
number 7 overall
no.
pick asking if fans flip
97-yard
burgers,
pick
and most
six.
recently, releasing former quarterback Daniel Jones less than 2 years after giving him a $160 million contract.
That was
Oh, and their
embarrassing.
former running back Saquon Barkley is having an MVP caliber season for the division rival Philadelphia Eagles. This franchise.
Yeah, and so was Xavier McKinney who went to the Packers. Like, oh my god. Yeah, we sacrificed Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney, both having career years on new teams for this guy right here. If we didn't pay this bozo $160 million, we could afford to get Xavier McKinney and Saquon back. But no, this guy right here, he's the reason. Or no, I'm gonna say our GM is the reason why we don't have him back, and Daniel Jones, because you know maybe if he didn't have a decent year in 2022, the general manager would be like, oh yeah, this guy's not going to be our franchise QB. Let's just get rid of him. That's what they should have been thinking. They're like, But honestly, even though he is decent, he's only had one good year. He's only had one good year with this team. So maybe not. Maybe don't throw all your money at him when you're not sure he's going to be your franchise quarterback. It's just simple. Just simple logic. Like they were not thinking with that one. Like they knew that was a mistake.
Guys at this point in time is a complete disaster. And in today's video, we're going to break down how they got here, what's next, and what their realistic plan should be moving forward. Now let's begin. And we are starting today's video by breaking down how the Giants got to where we are today, and it starts back in the 2022 draft, which was general manager Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll's first draft together.
Okay.
They had 2 first-round picks due to the Bears trading up for Justin Fields in 2021, and ended up with 2 top 7. I want to emphasize and Schoen and Brian Daboll's first draft together. They had 2 first-round picks due to the Bears trading up for Justin Fields in 2021.
Oh yeah. That was It seems like we won that trade at first, but then the guys we drafted, we didn't win the trade. It was the guys we drafted aren't the best. But yeah.
And ended up with 2 top 7 draft picks. And having 2 top 7 draft picks.
And one of them is this guy right here, Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, I liked him at first. Like he had a good rookie season. His second season, like yeah, he had a lot of sacks second season, but he wasn't as good. And then his third season, he just got injured for half of it. So like overall, I give this pick like a B minus. He's a like solid player, I guess. But like I just don't know. Like yeah, he's decent. Like he's a decent player, but like I don't think he's a fifth. I don't think he's a fifth overall pick kind of player. You know, like I feel like he's like later in the draft, like second round pick value. That's what he's giving me. I don't think he's giving me top 5 pick vibes. But this next guy that we got, oh my god, terrible pick.
Is great, and any franchise would love to have that opportunity, but you of course have to hit on the draft picks when they're made. The one thing I want to emphasize when we go over the Giants draft history is I'm not going to have revisionist history and claim they should have taken X player when that certainly wasn't the case at the time. Meaning I'm not saying, wow, they should have taken Brock Purdy in the first round, despite him eventually being Mr. Irrelevant. Now, there is one pick I always had a problem with, even when it was made, and we'll get to that in a minute, but I liked the Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal selections at the time. Truly. And to be honest,
I did too, bro. I'm like, okay, we got another edge rusher to complement Azeez Ojulari, which we got in the previous draft. And then we got Evan Neal, a big, beefy dude that's, pause, but a big dude next to Andrew Thomas. We have 2 good tackles now. So I'm like, yeah, this is good. This is a good draft. But they didn't turn out how I liked it. Well, one of them kind of did, but then this guy, Evan Neal, oh my god.
Didn't think it was unreasonable for the Jags to draft right Evan Neal number 1 overall back in 2022 because of the tumultuous rookie season Trevor Lawrence had. But the KT and Evan Neal picks were selections I liked because I thought they were doing a good job of...
Like, yeah, that looks good in the moment, but, bruh, he has not been doing that. That's the first time I've seen him do that.
Setting the
he is
tone,
not blocking
addressing
that
the trenches from day one, and that each of these players could be Giants for a long time, and that Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal would be a great tackle duo, whether it be for Daniel Jones or whoever would eventually become the Giants' next quarterback. Where I had the big problem was selecting Wan'Dale Robinson at number 43 overall, and mainly over former Georgia wide receiver George Pickens. Pickens currently has...
Oh my god, yeah, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. Over George Pickens? Oh no. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson hasn't been bad, but like, I wouldn't consider him to be that good either. Like he's alright. Like he's had some flashes. Like he had like some pretty good games here and there. But overall, I think he's just mid.
Has over 750 receiving yards in 11 games for the Steelers in 2024, and barring an injury, will have his second 1,000-yard season in 3 years. And the Giants' leading receivers in 2022 were Darius Slayton, who is fine, by the way, Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins, Saquon Barkley, and Daniel Bellinger.
Yeah, like Darius Slayton, like he's a solid receiver. Like he's like a decent number 2 receiver. But in 2023, he was number 1 receiver. So it's like, okay, yeah, this wide receiver core for the Giants, awful. Like we got a wide receiver that should really be number 2 wide receiver playing number 1 wide receiver, and then we got Wanda Robinson, who just alright as a number 2 receiver, and Hyatt. All he does is run deep, and yeah, that's all I know about him. So yeah, pretty bad wide receiver core. I'm not gonna lie. Man.
They absolutely could have used George Pickens, and several teams could have for that matter too. And I also thought they reached on Wandale at the time. They also selected offensive lineman Josh Azudu and corner Cordell Flott in the 3rd round.
Oh my God, just a bunch of terrible picks, bro. Josh Azudu, he's almost as bad as Evan Neal, honestly, and Cordell Flott, he's alright too. I mean, he had a good game. He had a good game against the Cowboys, like Thursday on Thanksgiving. But other than that, nothing. I mean, he's gotten like he's had some good plays, but overall he's kind of been getting cooked. So I don't like that. But yeah, he's like okay. He's just okay.
And with 5 top 100 draft picks in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Giants maybe hit on one of them in Kayvon Thibodeaux, who is very hot and cold as a player. And despite having 11.5 sacks in 2023, he only had 3 more pressures in his second season on over 100 more pass rushing snaps than he did in his rookie season. Meaning he was not getting home consistently, and the double-digit sack season is very misleading. Not only that, but when you think of elite pass rushers, Kayvon Thibodeaux's name does not come up often. He's not a bad player, but he's not an elite franchise-changing player by any stretch of the imagination either. I don't want to spend too much time on Evan Neal other than saying this pick didn't work out, and that there's a reason about a third of first-round picks are above-average players or stars, and about a third are average starters, and about a third are busts, and unfortunately Evan Neal is a draft bust. Again, I would argue
this guy is awful. See, look. This is what Evan Neal looks like every time I see him on the field.
A third are busts, and unfortunately Evan Neal is a draft bust. Again, I would argue the process was right with what the Giants were trying to do in the 2022 draft, at least with their first-round picks. Right process, but unfortunately
that was a backup edge rusher. Yeah, you heard me. Backup. The commentator's like, yep, this is a backup. Just did that to Evan Neal. Effortlessly.
Bad results with one of their picks. It happens.
Oh my God.
Every team
Here goes
drafts
Andrew
busts
Van
at
Ginkel.
some point. But the 2023 draft is where it really gets bad for this team. And this is where I would argue things really turn sour for Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll, and everyone else involved with the current state of the New York Giants. Entering the 2023 draft, the outlook for this franchise was optimistic. Yes, I know they got beat by 31 points in the divisional round of the 2022 playoffs, but anytime you win a playoff game, I don't really care if it's against the Vikings, who are considered frauds by everybody during the 2022 season. Anytime you win a playoff game, especially in the first year of a regime with a new head coach and new GM, it is a big deal. And if the Giants nailed the 2023 draft, there was a chance they could have been a consistent 9, 10, or 11 win team and been a force year in and year out. Now, as we know, that obviously didn't happen. And this draft class,
Evan Neal again.
There was a chance they could have been a consistent 9, 10.
Oh my. Even when we win, like, yeah, this was the playoff game we won. Even when we win, bro, Evan Neal still, like, he still fails to impress me, bro. Like, come on, bro.
Or 11 win team and been a force year in and year out. Now, as we know, that obviously didn't happen. And this draft class, a little over a year and a half later, looks not just bad, not even slightly below average, but horrendously bad. Their first round pick was corner Deonte Banks, and I didn't hate the pick at the time. That's one thing that I do want to emphasize.
Banks, bro. Yeah, that pick was pretty bad. Pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. Banks, he's been like his first year was solid. Like I'm not gonna lie. I give him like a B. Like he had 2 interceptions. Like he locked down some of the best players. Like I remember when he locked down Stephon Diggs. Like yeah, that was fun to watch. But yeah. He had some good games. He had some bad games, but overall, he was solid. But then second year, he was trash. He is trash his second year, bro. He keeps getting burnt, bro, by everyone. Even the most irrelevant wide receivers, bro. He gets burnt by them. I watch any Giants game, bro. You are not gonna go a single Giants game without seeing this man getting cooked. Dang.
Emphasize in this video is that we are not going into this with revisionist history and saying, well, they should have taken that player because obviously everybody knew he was going to be better. No. What was unfortunate for the Giants was they needed a receiver entering the 2023 draft, and right before they were on the clock, 4 receivers went in consecutive order, with Jackson Smith-Njigba going to the Seahawks, Quentin Johnson going to the Chargers, Zay Flowers going to the Ravens, and Jordan Addison going to the Vikings. Jackson Smith-Njigba and Zay Flowers are both top 10 in the NFL in receiving yards, and I really think Zay Flowers is on his way to being a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. Now, unfortunately for Zay, his numbers will probably always be limited, especially with Lamar Jackson as his quarterback, given that they run the ball a lot, and especially with Derrick Henry. But the point is the Giants were the last team standing, and none of those teams were going to trade out of taking a receiver, knowing the Giants were going to take a receiver if they wanted to trade up. That is unfortunate luck. And also, this kind of happened to the Giants in the 2024 draft when they wanted to go up and get either Jaden Daniels or Drake May. If a team...
and then we tried to get Drake May, and it didn't work out. So we had to stick with Neighbors. Oh yeah, the 2024 draft, it was good. But even though the draft class was overall really good, our team still sucked. So what was the point?
Team simply does not want to trade out of a pick. They're not. And then the game of musical chairs, they couldn't sit down. So I don't want to say they were forced to take Deonte Banks because, again, I thought he was a good prospect coming out of Maryland, but Deonte has been a nightmare for the Giants since being drafted. There's a lot of concerns with Deonte, whether it's his ability not being up to the level that they want it to be, whether it's his effort, and there's a couple of plays in particular. There was the touchdown against CeeDee Lamb on Thursday Night Football earlier this year on primetime for everybody to see, where Deonte Banks effectively just stopped trying on the play when CeeDee was at the 24-yard line, or on a play against the Eagles later in the year. And that is a huge red flag because that shows a lack of
terrible, horrible
commitment to the team, to the front office, to the organization, to the fans, to everybody. And there's no way around that. And also Deonte Banks has a...
Look at that. 137 opposing passer rating. 6 touchdowns allowed. Are you kidding me? This guy is terrible.
A passer rating of 137 when targeted this year, and a perfect passer rating is 158.3. So it's not like it's excused because he's a shutdown corner. He's been anything but that. Their second round pick was center John Michael Schmitz, who has been
he's been terrible too. He sucks.
Disaster as well, and John Michael Schmitz is a bottom 5 center in the NFL, and I'll be honest, this was another pick I thought was fine at the time. And the one thing that I do want to hammer home with the Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll era is when you look at their first and second round picks within the first 2 years of their regime, whether it was Evan Neal, whether it was Kayvon Thibodeau, Wan'Dale Robinson, no, that one I did have a problem with. Deonte Banks was fine, especially considering the circumstances, and I also like John Michael Schmitz. The process, I would argue, was correct. The results, unfortunately, just didn't follow. And whenever teams have a Lions-type success, where they draft the Penei Sewells and the Aiden Hutchinsons, and whenever they have as many successful draft picks as they have, there's a reason they get as hyped up as they do, because they are very clearly the outlier and not the standard. I don't want to say the Giants tried to go down the Lions route, but they really tried to emphasize the trenches and unfortunately struck out. John Michael Schmitz gets bullied week in and week out, and Vita Vea certainly had his way with him most recently in week 12, but this isn't just a one-game sample.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yep, this is we dropped in the second round.
From John Michael Schmitz. To go back to
I already know Dexter Lawrence be bullying him in practice.
Not being able to select a receiver in the first round of the 2023 draft, the Giants eventually traded up on day 2, and they went up to pick 73 to go get receiver Jalin Hyatt from Tennessee. They traded their 3rd round pick and their 4th round pick, and unfortunately Jalin Hyatt didn't work out. Now, eventually Malik Neighbors did work out, and they have their wide receiver one of the future, but for your first 3 picks to be Deonte Banks, John Michael Schmitz, and Jalin Hyatt, and then to not pick again all the way until pick 172 of the 2023 NFL draft, to strike out 3 times, that is not going to set your franchise up for success. And anytime you have a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick.
What in the world? Look at this. Tell me if you know any of these guys. Because I sure don't. This draft class was like so bad. It was so terrible. It was like it's probably one of the worst draft classes we've had like in a long time. Oh my God, this draft was bad.
If you hit on any of those selections, great, but you absolutely cannot head into a draft and say, guys, we have to hit on multiple 5th, 6th, or 7th round picks because our rounds 1 through 3 struck out. And unfortunately, the Giants have struck out a lot over the past couple of years in the Joe Schoen era, but I will say that I thought the process in which they went about things was the correct way. The results, unfortunately, didn't follow. Now, for as bad as the 2022 and 2023 draft classes for the Giants were, the 2024 draft class is completely different. The
2024 draft class was good, like I mentioned before. So we got Malik Neighbors, Tyler Nubin, Andrew Phillips, and then we got Theo Johnson was in. Then we got Darius Moss. Wasn't that good? I mean, our first 3 picks were good. Oh yeah, we got Tyrone Tracy. Oh yeah. So yeah, that draft class was actually like great, honestly.
2024 Giants draft class is one of the best classes out of any of the teams we've seen so far. I think everyone would agree that Malik Neighbors is definitely being held back by the quarterback play in New York, and if he has even close to league average quarterback play, which he obviously hasn't throughout his rookie year, he should be a 1,000-yard receiver year in and year out. But one of the biggest reasons this franchise is where they are, which is rock bottom at the moment, is the disconnect over simple things. During Neighbors' post-game press conference after the Bucs game, he said, "I started getting the ball when it was 30-0 and to ask Daboll about it." And you can't help but feel frustrated for Neighbors in this situation because this team, while bad, yes, they're not close to maximizing what they can do, and that's where a lot of my frustration stems from. There's going to be conversations about whether or not they should keep both Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, and the case to keep them would largely be based off of their 2024 draft class and use that as a stepping stone for the Giants' future and to go from there. But I'm at the point where I think they should let both of them go, because if they were to keep both of them, I think the situation would be very similar to the cycle of what the Chicago Bears have done over the last several years. Have a GM and head coach on their last legs, draft a rookie quarterback in the first round, and when you, not surprisingly, have a losing record with a rookie quarterback, because let's be honest here, the likelihood you have a losing record with a rookie quarterback is far greater than the chance of having a winning record with a rookie quarterback, you get fired. That inevitably wastes a year of everybody's time, and in a field where jobs do not last forever, and the average length of careers is around 3 seasons. And for as good as the 2024 draft class is for the Giants, due to selections like Neighbors, of course, Tyler Nubin, Drew Phillips, Theo Johnson, and Tyrone Tracy, I am a firm believer that the damage is done. Obviously, we know all about giving Daniel Jones the big contract after the 2022 season was a mistake, but I think that mistake will save other teams from doing the same exact thing. And the reason we bring that up is because Sam Darnold is currently in the midst of a great season, and there's almost certainly going to be a team that offers him a lot more money than they probably should. but I don't expect Sam to receive a 4-year contract with 2 full years in guarantees, due in large part to the Daniel Jones contract and everything that has transpired after the Daniel Jones contract. This team was 2-3 at a point after beating the Seahawks 29-20 in week 5, and in the 6 games since then, they have scored just 74 points, which equates to just 12.3 per game.
Awful. Daniel Jones, terrible. I hate this guy, actually. Like, I actually hate him. I'm glad. I am actually glad that he's gone. Like, I've never been more happy in my life.
22 of those 74 points came in a game against the Commanders, and this offense right now is downright terrible. I know Andrew Thomas being done for the year obviously complicates things, but the offense was bad before Andrew Thomas got hurt, and it was going to be bad even after Andrew Thomas got hurt. And when you look at the Giants' remaining schedule, I don't know how you can confidently say they are going to win any game out of their remaining 6. I would like to think they're not going to finish the year on a 12-game losing streak and hope they can pull out 1 or 2 games, but they should not be favored in any game for the remainder of the season. This is a bad football team, and it's the culmination of multiple draft picks gone wrong and multiple high draft picks along the offensive line missing as well. The path for the Giants to getting back to seriously competing is not an easy one either, because there's a lot of holes in this roster to fix, and it's not going to be complete in one offseason. And because of that, I think it's easier to let both Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen go, rather than them trying to mortgage the future of the New York Giants in a last gasp effort to save their jobs. So because of that, I think there will be a new head coach and general manager for the Giants this offseason. But what I also think needs to be emphasized with not just the Giants, but even a team like the Raiders for that matter too, is just because there is a head coach opening does not automatically mean Ben Johnson is going to be the team's head coach. Obviously, I think Ben Johnson very highly, and I think he will be a great head coach for a long time at whatever team he chooses, if in fact that's the route he chooses to go. But if I were Ben Johnson, I wouldn't want anything to do with this situation for a multitude of reasons. The path for the Giants to being a successful franchise is going to be a long path. It's not going to be one offseason, and especially not in a draft class where the quarterbacks are not anywhere close to what they were in 2024. And unfortunately for the Giants, they couldn't get up to go get the quarterback they wanted because the Commanders and Patriots each wanted Jaden Daniels and Drake May, and you can't blame them based on what we've seen so far. The Philadelphia Eagles...
You know what? I blame Tommy DeVito for giving us those pointless wins in 2023, knowing we're not going to make the playoffs. So why, DeVito, did you try to beat the Commanders? Did you try to beat the Patriots? And did you try to beat the Packers? Like, if we lost all 3 of those games, we would have had Jaden Daniels and or Drake May. It would have been good. But nah. Now we gotta wait for this terrible draft class where the top quarterbacks are Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, and freaking Quinn Ewers. Terrible. Just like this, honestly, one of the worst quarterback draft classes of all time.
Are also a very difficult team to play, and they beat the hell out of the Giants earlier this year, and I would imagine they're going to beat them again when they play a second time. They are a thorn in a lot of team sides, and they currently run the NFC East. Yes, I know Dallas won the division in 2023, and there hasn't been a repeat winner in nearly 20 years, but the Eagles are a good team year in and year out, and they are a very good team, and there's a real chance that they go to the NFC Championship game this year, if not the Super Bowl. So when you look at the Giants entering the 2025 offseason and ultimately the 2025 draft, I think it has to be acknowledged that it's not going to be a one-year turnaround. They're not going to go from 4-13 or 5-12 to 12-5 in 1 year. And the one big thing that I don't want the Giants to do entering the 2025 draft is select a quarterback because they feel that they have to. I think that was kind of what happened with Daniel Jones back in 2019. And everybody knew at the time when they selected him at number 6 overall that was a huge reach. And
exactly, huge reach of all time. We could have gotten a great player at 6 overall and then waited like till round 3, knowing that nobody else needed a quarterback at then we could have gotten Daniel Jones. That would have been okay. We would have gotten a better player, then we would have had Daniel Jones. Now we don't really need to reach for, like, I don't mind if we get someone like Will Johnson in the first round, and then later on get a quarterback. because the quarterback draft class isn't that good. So if you're sacrificing Cam Ward for like Jalen Moore or something like that, who cares? Who cares?
Obviously, that proved to be correct. Now, Daniel did have a couple of okay years, and 2019 was fine as he threw for 24 touchdowns, and there looked to be promise at one point with Daniel Jones, and even 2022 was fine because, for the most part, he played mistake-free football. But over the past 2 years, it has gone tremendously downhill, and that's the big thing with the Giants entering 2025 that I do not want them to do. I don't want them to select a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Jalen Milroe simply because they feel they have to. Now, if they feel that that guy is the franchise quarterback, by all means go for it, but just selecting a quarterback to select a quarterback, I think, is a tremendous mistake, and I hope it's one that the Giants don't make. The one path that I think they could go down is to try and do what the Vikings did this offseason, which is to have a bridge quarterback, and I don't think the Giants would have the success the Vikings have had this year, due in large part to the coaching staff and the culture that the Vikings have built, because that's taken a couple of years for everybody to buy in, and you've seen the results that the Vikings have had this year, but that should be the type of rebuild that the Giants should strive for this offseason. They have about $60 million to work with in cap space this offseason, and this is per over the cap, and I really can't wait to see what the Giants do, because I think the best thing they could...
We need to spend it. We need to spend like almost every dollar we got on players that can help this team, because Lord knows we need it. 60 million? 60 million. 60 million, bro. No, we need to be signing all the big names, bro. Now, and we need to think like, can this guy help us? Will they help this team out? Try to fill in as many holes in this roster that we can, and completely blow up this team, explode this team, and make a brand new team. Then we can actually be okay in 2025. And then 2026 comes around, we're gonna be a great team because we're gonna fill in the rest of the holes that we have, all the other flaws in our roster. And yeah, best case scenario, we go 2 for 2 in 2025 and 2026 draft class. Then we have 2 amazing off seasons. We're a good team now. And yeah, it's really hard to do, but it's possible. It is possible. But knowing how bad this team is, and knowing that we have terrible coaching staff, and knowing that John Mara, the stupidest owner of all time, is not gonna be he's probably not firing them. He's probably gonna give him like one last chance. We're cooked. He's even not hiring coaches. Like if we get a new coach, he's probably gonna be trash. Just like Brian Daboll, just like Joe Judge, just like Pat Shermer, just like Bob McAdoo. It's 4 coaches. 4 coaches since Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin, he was good. He was a great coach. He gave us 2 Super Bowl wins. And ever since then, we had those 4 bums that don't know what the heck they're doing. I hate this team because we just keep losing. We don't know. We don't have any sort of direction at all. We are cooked. We are actually cooked, bro. This team is done, bro. This team is actually done. I feel bad for other Giants fans. We have to sit through this. And if you're thinking about going to a Giants game, don't. Because you're wasting your money just to watch us lose. We're going to go 2-15 and then watch us reach for Shedeur Sanders, and then he has no weapons, and then he plays bad, and they're like, oh no, we just need to get a new quarterback. And then we get a new quarterback, and he fails, and then we're just going to do it over and over and over again, and then we're just going to be sucking for the rest of this decade. Our 2022 season wasn't even that good, bro. It wasn't even that good. And we had the easiest schedule of all time. We played we played the top 3 worst teams. All 3 of the worst teams in the league: the Bears, the Texans, and the Colts. Those 3 were the top 3 worst teams in the league, and of course we beat them. And then we played the Then we played the easiest division in the NFC at the time, NFC North, trash division. So like, who did we really even play for real? Every time we played the good team, we got whooped. Like the Eagles. And every time we play a team that's like, alright, we either kind of win or kind of lose. We always win by one score. We don't really have a dominant win over a team that's like okay. Every time we play an okay team, we either lose by one score or win by one score. And the Vikings, even though they were 14-3, they still had a negative point differential, so they were not even that good that season. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. This team sucks. We're not going to be good anytime soon. And yeah, Giants fans, you're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm sorry, but yeah, just gonna deal with the fact that we're not gonna be good because we suck. You got that? Yeah, I think you got that. All right, I'm gonna end it right here. Bye bye.